Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rise of the Phoenix, and this video is going to be a guide that I've been intending to make for quite a while now, ever since the half-elven changes to Arwen, Elrond, and the other commanders that have that title. If you want to check out this battle report real quick before we dive into it, Arwen has been performing quite well for me in PvE, and I've even had some good results with her in PvP. So if you want to know how to get the most value out of your Arwen, stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. So first of all, let's talk about why should you use Arwen. And I will note that this guide is going to be a bit more PvE focused because I think she's stronger in PvE than PvP. But as for why you should use her, she's quite efficient in PvE. She's good at taking tiles. She's quite solid at fighting bosses as well. And in PvP, now that she has the new half-elven title, I do think she can hold her own against certain commanders, so in the early game she can really help you grow your economy efficiently, and then since she's going to be leveled up from taking tiles anyways, you can bring her in against certain commanders, particularly Khaldun, who is quite problematic for a lot of the very popular good side commanders. She's not going to be a super S+ tier powerhouse like Theoden, Eowyn, or Dwalin, but she has her role in PvP, and she is very efficient in PvE. So let's talk about our skill build here. I do think for PvP, she needs Respect 5. For PvE, you can get away with lower than that, but she really wants her Queen of the Reunited Kingdom title for PvP, which helps mitigate a lot of early burst damage, because every time one of your units gets hit, this applies to each unit separately, every time they get hit, the first time is 90% less damage, and then that damage reduction gets lowered to like 72.5% or something like that, and then when they get hit again, it goes down and goes down, but it provides a really nice chunk of mitigation during those early rounds of combat, which are the most important rounds of combat in my opinion. I put 1 point in Parting Gift just because this only goes off once per combat. It goes off on round 8 and has a 7-round cooldown. There's only 10 rounds of combat. You do the math, it's not going off again. 15 of 15 in Undomiel, I think that's how you say it, is also very important because the 15th point changes this skill from only ever activating against physical damage to activating against any type of damage. Very important if you're coming up against Corsairs, Alchemists, Arbalests, or anybody that just does, poison, burn, or focus damage. I put 6 points in each of her heals. I could probably do some spreadsheet math to try and figure out if like 7-5 split is more efficient. I felt pretty comfortable with a 6-6 split, so that's what I did. And then her recently changed half-elven title. For every allied man unit in your army, your entire army gets +10 defense and +10 speed. And then for every elf type unit in your army, your entire army does 10% more damage. If you have 2 elven units, well, that's 20% damage. And this one you could probably get away with leaving it 14 of 15 because +10 might and +10 focus is just not very exciting. However, I do like getting the full effect, particularly of the damage buff. Then we have 7 points in Boon. I think this is a pretty underrated skill. You're either going to take 20% less physical damage, keep in mind only physical here, or you're going to gain 20% physical damage to your entire army. Now, when you're taking 20% less physical damage, most damage reduction skills are actually 14% for 7 points. This is 20% for 7 points. However, it does come with the caveat of only affecting physical damage, but 20 is still more than 14%. Pretty solid in my opinion. And then if you happen to roll the damage portion of it, well, your entire army is doing physical damage, so it's not like you're missing out. You're not going to be running I guess if you're playing on a non-RP server, you could run Alchemists or Corsairs or whatever. But all of my stuff is from the RP perspective. Good side units do physical damage. If we were to compare this to another damage buff, such as Nobility, this goes up to 21% at 7 points, but it only affects men units, whereas Boon is 20% for everybody. So you're losing 1% of damage for more flexibility in terms of your army composition. Let's talk about my itemization here. I'm not happy with my weapon slot. I really wish this was a Noldor sword or an elven white knife. I think that she really wants a plus attack modifier on her weapon, specifically for elves. Noldor is +1 at 0 stars, and elven white knife is actually +2 for elves. Noldor is men and elves. In her armies, elves are doing all the damage anyway. So if you can get a damage boost to elves, that is optimal. I am happy with my scale mail. Might, focus, army defense, melee, all solid stats. Melee vigor, definitely good as well. I do plan to refine this as I am able. Then Arnor Cask, it's a fine option. I wish you could run a bone mask because it does give HP. However, Arnor Cask can come with warding, which can be quite clutch against Khaldun, Witch King, Khamul, anybody with Ring Wraith, anybody with stuns. You could also run a Cask of the Submerged Isle with Aegis if you have it. Unfortunately, the cask that I got from the Season 2 Season Pass does not have Aegis. I'm saying cask, and these are both casks. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. My Cask of the Submerged Isle did not come with Aegis. Even if it did, I'm not going to be able to strengthen and refine this thing for such a long time, whereas the Arnor Cask is a much more budget-friendly option, and being stun immune is quite solid anyways. And then the Fine Smoking Pipe. I'm pretty fine with this, except I wish it had rolled Critical Care. Critical Care, I do believe, is just better than Second Wind, especially since Arwen is already cleansing debuffs with one of her heals anyways. But, beggars can't be choosers. This is a great option for me. Alternatively, a worn out smoking pipe with sustain is perfectly viable, and in the long run, I'll probably swap to a pipe just because I'm going to be able to strengthen and refine it much more than I could a fine smoking pipe, unless I just get some crazy RNG on the smoking pipe. As far as troop setups go, we'll go to our army screen here. Got a lot of armies ready to go. So this is what I have been running with Arwen, and I think this is actually the best army setup as far as PvP goes for her. Unless you have some super crazy elf gear that can make heralds tanky enough to be a viable solo frontline unit, which if you can, they're actually phenomenal, because that means you're going to be taking all of the hits and then counterattacking every single time. It requires some pretty crazy gear to pull off though. Otherwise, they're just going to get destroyed, and then your squishy ranged units are going to start getting picked apart. That is not what you want. So I guess also if you had March Wardens or Noldor Longshots, you might be able to get away with a triple elf army. In general, I don't think Bow Knights on Arwen are reliable enough in PvP, unless you just know for sure that you're going to be fighting trolls. Sentinels outperform Bow Knights against everything that is not a large unit for Arwen, as she does not have cavalry specific buffs. So for PvP, this is the army composition that I would definitely recommend. Cataphracts are a phenomenal tank unit. Heralds function as like a semi-tank, semi-damaged unit. These guys actually deal some pretty considerable damage. And then Sentinels are like the best tier 3 DPS unit in the game. They're just awesome. Now for tiles specifically, you would run this. I don't have any Bow Knights trained right now, but I think you get the picture. You would run Bow Knights because 200 plus tiles always have at least one army full of trolls. So you want your Bow Knights to be able to kill the trolls, Cataphracts are going to be tanking fine against tile armies anyways. It's not like tile armies are just not nearly as powerful as player armies, so Cataphracts, you can get away with them being your solo frontline. If you are Gondor like me, you can run Swan Knights, and actually for PvP, what I run is Swan Knights with Heralds thrown in, but not everybody's Gondor, so I wanted to provide the option of Cataphracts rather than Swans. We'll go back to our PvE army. Bada boom, bada bing. Bow Knights are going to activate the plus 20% damage from half-elven, and I think you really, really want to run 2 elf units in your armies to get that 20% bonus. You want to bring 1 man unit just to activate the 10 defense, 10 speed. Like I said, if you have super crazy gear, you could run triple elf units to get a 30% damage bonus, which is like super optimal, but not a lot of people are going to have the gear and be able to pull that off. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something useful. Let me know what you think about Arwen down in the comments section below. Am I absolutely crazy for thinking that she has a place in PvP? Do you have a better Arwen build or army setup than I do? I'm always happy to learn from you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Rise of the Phoenix, over and out.